We have here His Excellency Dr. Husam Zomlot. With us, he's the Palestinian ambassador in the United Kingdom, and he's a Palestinian diplomat, academic, and economist. He was appointed as the head of the Palestinian mission to the United Kingdom in October 2018. Before his posting to the UK, he served as the head of the PLO mission to the United States that was closed by the President Donald Trump administration. So Dr. Husam Zomlot, he have a very, very extensive experience about the Palestinian cause and about the Palestinian genocide that ongoing now in Gaza. And we are very proud to have Dr. Husam Zomlot with us. Dr. Husam, you may start.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Good morning, my brothers and sisters, colleagues, friends. It is an honor, truly an honor to be even virtually at the University of Malaya, a renowned university. I've always wanted to visit the great country of Malaysia and the great University of Malaya. And this is an opportunity to thank the Norma Hashim, the founder of the Hashim Sani Center for Palestine, and also Professor Muhammad Nazari, the director of the center, and our friend Muhammad Al-Aqad, the co-organizer, the International Institute of the Advanced Islamic Studies. And indeed, I am also very, very honored to be part of this conference, joining a very impressive list of speakers. Many of them are old friends, and hoping that I will make new friends among this very exceptional list of academics and experts on the issue of Palestine in particular and in international affairs in general. And I wish I was physically with you, and the organizers must promise me that next time they will insist that I'll be physically with you. It would be a great opportunity to visit a beloved country and a beloved nation, our brothers and sisters in Malaysia. There were many opportunities before, but unfortunately they were missed. So maybe soon I'll be having the honor to join you. Now, the theme of your conference is very timely and very telling. It is the genocide in Gaza, and the title is right to begin your conversation from there, because there are so many people around the world, politicians, particularly in the West, including here in the UK, who doubt that this is a genocide. And we are telling them, whether at the highest level of the government or in the parliament or in any other spheres in the public sphere, that if this is not a genocide, then what is a genocide? If not the killing and the targeting of tens of thousands, according to the latest official count, now we're talking about 150,000 killed and maimed. 150,000, that's more than 6% of the population of Gaza. And if the use of starvation and disease as weapons of war is not a genocide, then what is? If the displacement of the entire population of Gaza is not a genocide, then what is? And the squeezing of the entire population in the narrowest of areas in Gaza, the complete depopulation of the north, and the north in size, in area, is 1/3 of Gaza, but it is also inhabited by a half of the population in Gaza. It's the most dense area on the face of Earth, and therefore terminology matters, particularly in light of the ruling of the International Court of Justice already in January, declaring that the case brought by South Africa and several other countries against Israel for committing the crime of genocide, the court concluded that the accusation, the charge against Israel is plausible, and it is plausible that Israel is committing genocide. So once judges of the globe, the ICJ is the highest court globally, once it does say that, it concludes that the conversation should be over. But you are all aware that there is a whole great deal of business, particularly in the West, for whitewashing Israel, for diversion and distraction, for shielding Israel from any actual accountability. So it is a genocide, and I am from Gaza, and I follow with my family and with my friends almost on a daily basis. And what I hear is beyond the description, beyond the comprehension of any human being. In the last few days and nights, people have been sleeping standing, literally standing in tents in the Mawasi area and all these so-called shelters, simply because of the winter, the rain, the sea that has literally swamped thousands of these tents, because they are not tents that are prepared for winter. It's as simple as that. And the level of suffering and the level of human need is unprecedented in recent human history. And in the north, Israel has completely and utterly depopulated the whole area, and you are aware of reports of complete and utter starvation. Famine is in the north. And they are going home after home, destroying the homes, killing the male population, and letting women and children on a death march, literally death march towards the south, because they are still attacked as they are walking southward. And the same thing is happening in the south. In Rafah, the city of my birth, where entire populations have been forced out, where systematic destructions of property, infrastructure is undergoing. And at the same time, Israel is building infrastructure, including roads and what have you, that indicates that the real actual intention is to remain in a semi-permanent situation in the occupied Gaza Strip. And now all this is not news to you. All of you are following what is happening. But what is important to stress is that while all of our eyes are on Gaza, while we are bleeding for Gaza, Israel is doing the same in the West Bank, in the occupied West Bank, including Jerusalem. And the Israeli real greed, the real plan is in the West Bank. The ideological battle is there. The existential battle is there, particularly Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. And what they're doing in the West Bank needs our full attention. Our full attention. Maybe it's a slower genocide than the West Bank, but it's the same playbook. It's the same tactics. It's the same policies. And entire communities in the West Bank have been depopulated, forced, mass expulsion, particularly in the area of Hebron, Al-Khalil, Masafer Yatta, and what have you. And you are all following invasions and raids in Jenin and Nablus and all over the West Bank, and the provocations, the very serious provocations in and around Jerusalem, particularly in Al-Haram al-Sharif, Al-Aqsa. And we all know that Al-Aqsa and Jerusalem is the most sensitive area in the body of the Palestinian people and perhaps the region and the world. The moment you touch it, the Palestinian people would shake up, as we did through our history. And there are fanatical elements within the Israeli current government that are adamant and insisting on turning Jerusalem as a flashpoint again by invading Al-Aqsa Mosque on a regular basis, the likes of Ben Gvir, extremists. And by the way, we cannot belittle the whole thing and just paint it as the problem is in few ministers. This is a much bigger problem, because the genocide in Gaza and the attacks in the West Bank have almost the full backing of the Israeli public, regrettably so. And also, we haven't seen any real challenge by the mainstream Israeli political parties. It has also the support for what Israel has been doing in Gaza and the West Bank, both in terms of the murder and in terms of the colonial project and the theft of land. But it's also important to note here, my friends, that while we have witnessed the first ever live streamed genocide in real time over the last 14 months. This isn't just about the last 14 months. The Western media would like to depict it, to portray it as if history began on the 7th of October. And you may have followed all the media coverage and reports and interrogations with us rather than even interviews. And we insisted, and we continue to insist, that history began 100 years ago or even more. And this is a people's struggle. and that the same tactics have been happening. Let us remember that 2/3 of the Palestinian people were forcibly removed from our homes and farms already 76 years ago. 2/3 who have become refugees. Let us remember that 80% of the Gaza population are refugees themselves, including myself, by the way. I was born in the Rafah refugee camp, Shabura, to the very south of Gaza. And therefore, it is rather also important not only to remind our friends and to remind the world that the genocide is not only happening in Gaza, it's also happening in the West Bank, but to add that the genocide is not only happening for the last 14 years, it's been for the last 14 months, it's been happening for almost a century. Because the Palestinian cause, my friends, is a cause that started with the ideology, with the mindset that canceled the Palestinian people. Cancelled. We have suffered a process of cancellation. And by the way, the country I'm serving as an ambassador in right this moment, the United Kingdom, Britain, has something to do with it. It was the Balfour Declaration in 1970 that actually, in 67 words of that infamous declaration, promised our land without consulting us and turned us, the native indigenous population of Palestine and the Palestinian people are at the cradle of civilizations. Palestine has been a hub between East and West, the birthplace of Christianity and sacred to all Abrahamic religions. The people of Palestine are one of the most rooted and home to most civilizations. And then in one strike, a British colonial mindset at the time turned us into only non-Jewish minorities. So we, the owners of the land, and at the time we owned 96% of the land, and we were 98% of the population, we were turned into non-Jewish minorities. And then the whole Zionist mindset was that this is a land without a people. If you remember that mantra, that statement, a land without a people, for a people without a land. Now, for that statement to come true, for that lie to come true, they had to erase us. They had to cancel us, erase us, ethnically cleanse us, finish us off, name it, call it the way you want. And this has been happening over the course of 100 years. However, our people has made all these plans fail from the 48 Nakba, when many of us remained where we are despite the atrocities. When we have 2 million people now living all over historic Palestine, including Jaffa and Haifa and Naseret, remained in their home and flourished. And up all the way to now, and Gaza and our people refusing, despite the most atrocious, brutal, barbaric, inhumane attacks remaining on their land. And I think our people have already broken Israel's wish to actually erase the Palestinian people. And the heroism that came out of Gaza and out of Palestine in the last 14 months is simply heartwarming in every sense. The heroism of our doctors, and I'm sure you're following the stories of doctors who go and bury their own young children and sons, like Dr. Husam Abu Safiy of Kamal Udwan Hospital in the north of Gaza, burying his 15-year-old son Ibrahim, and then immediately going to attend to his patients, to the wounded. And a few hours later, or a couple of days later, Israel sent a drone to actually attack him, to assassinate him. And he's the head of the hospital, by the way. And he was in intensive care until 48 hours ago, when, alhamdulillah, he has been released, said, because he's healing and recovering. And numerous numbers of doctors have been targeted. Our journalists, because of the failure of the international media to cover the genocide, our journalists have become heroes, and not only heroes, they paid for it by their lives. Israel has killed more than 130 journalists in Gaza over the last 14 months. But but the heroism and the professionalism in conveying and in sending the message is unmatched. This is the first time a genocide is being documented by the very, very people that are being genocided. This is the first time a war of extermination is being reported, captured by the very people that are being executed. And only last night I had the honor of attending an event, one of the most prestigious events for journalists here in London, where they give international awards for 3 categories on independent freelancers. And I was the proudest ambassador in the room that the 3 categories were received by Palestinian journalists from Gaza. Not only, by the way, not only for their heroism, not only for their dedication and devotion, but for their professionalism, the professional way in which they documented the atrocities and what is happening to their people. You've seen the teachers still yesterday intense, insisting to give our children a future and to give them education. And I must say, these tents, it's exactly how we started 76 years ago. We built tents to teach our children, and then these tents became universities. And we would repeat the same thing. Our tents, because they destroyed all of this infrastructure. The UN has come up with a statistic that in the last 14 months, Israel has destroyed 66% of all of Gaza's structures, Gaza Strip structures. That includes 70% of homes, 80% of schools, 90% of hospitals, and 100% of universities. All Gaza universities, and I'm speaking in the vicinity of a university. And the world knows that education is a lifeline for the Palestinian people. We have survived in main part, because our previous generations, our parents and grandparents invested heavily in our education. That's why they're targeting the universities and the schools and our education system. But I assure you that as we did all through our history, we will do it again and again and again to rebuild what Israel has destroyed, and to give our future, our children, a different future. Because our children, we have more than 625,000 school children in Gaza who have gone for the 2nd year without education. And therefore, the examples are so many of the heroism, of the resilience, of the inspiring acts, of the solidarity among the people. It breaks my heart, but it does also inspire me when I see children, our children, convening press conferences, because they know that the world has failed them. So they want to make sure that their message is being delivered. And in the last 14 months, the genocide has exposed the double standards of some international actors. I have to say, of the West in particular. The selectivity, the hypocrisy of Western governments, the hypocrisy. And it's very clear, it's absolutely clear that this system, the Western system, does look at Palestine from a different prism. When it comes to Israel, every rule collapses, disappears. Israel is above every law, is the exception to every rule. That's a fact. All the way to now, the ICC. I just heard a senior American senator only yesterday giving a speech in Israel, saying that the ICC was not established for countries like the US or Israel or Britain or France or Germany. What he actually means that the ICC, the International Criminal Court, was established only for brown people or black people or yellow people, but not for the white people. And this came out in light of Ukraine and their position about Ukraine, when they were very quick to help the Ukrainian resistance, giving them arms and finance and political and legal cover instantly like this, and sending Russia, pushing the ICC to issue arrest warrants against the Russian leaders and to take them to all courts and sanctions and what have you. But when it comes to Palestine, when in fact we are the occupied and Israel is the occupier, the arms go to the occupier, the arms go to the colonizer, the arms go to the besieger, the arms go to the regime that imposes a system of apartheid and segregations and racism and the supremacy that you are all following, that comes out of the mouth of the highest echelons of the Israeli governments. However, I just want to be as brief as possible to fast forward and say that the tide is turning, my friends. The tide is turning, and we must be absolutely hopeful. The tide is turning, number one, because of our people, and you have witnessed what they are doing, both in Gaza, the West Bank, and our refugees outside, and this unprecedented clinching into our rights, coming together, but also this huge, unprecedented change in the international public opinion. It has been unmasked. Israel has been unmasked. The truth is out, thanks to our people in Gaza and everywhere, thanks to our journalists. And you have seen the streets of London and New York and Brussels and Berlin and all over the world. Unprecedented. In London, 1 million British people came out in support of Palestine and against the genocide. And by the way, tomorrow, it's today, London's time, already Saturday, there will be another national march that I will be taking part in, and you will see hundreds of thousands. So this is the first time you see a movement that is sustainable, that is going even after 14 months. People did not tire, people are not silenced, people are keep going. And this reminds me that this is a movement. This is a serious movement that is similar to the anti-apartheid movement of South Africa, remember, in the 80s. And by the way, at that time, it was South Africa, the epicenter of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. The center of it was London. The British people here started that anti-apartheid movement. And today, pro-Palestine activism, the epicenter of it is again London. And it's historically relevant because we're all started here in the UK, here in Britain, the Balfour Declaration, all must end. But it's not just the public opinion, but the public opinion is pressuring governments. And the governments are aware that their people are not with them. If you look at every opinion poll, you will see that 80% of the British people are with an immediate ceasefire, 80% are with arms embargo, 75% are with immediate recognition of the state of Palestine. And for the first time ever, Palestine has become an election issue in the UK only a few months ago in the last elections in July. So was it the case this month in the US. Palestine has factored because many components of Western societies, including the US and the UK, now consider this issue to be a core issue. And this will have its ramification in the future. And here in the UK, the new government had to adopt and adjust. And that's why they refunded UNRWA. They pulled out of the intervention at the ICC and declared they respect the independence of the ICC and they will comply with it. And thirdly, they also impose sanctions on the Israeli settlers and settlements and organizations that support them. They announced a partial arms embargo, but at least it deprives Israel of most of the weapons that are being used in Gaza, except after F-35s we are discussing with them. But all that pressure is bearing fruits on the governments and the clarity of international judicial system, the international legality, the ICJ and the ICC, and you all followed the ruling of both, especially the last 2 weeks, the ICC and the issuing of arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Smotrich. This took us, the state of Palestine and the PLO, a long time of sweat and of efforts and determination, and from the other side, bullying and lobbying and intimidation and cutting our funding, our own money, and shuttering our mission in Washington, all that because we went to the ICC. But the cause of accountability, the cause of holding those war criminals to account, the cause of seeing Netanyahu behind bar is worth every single cost. And we must press ahead to make sure that war criminals are behind bars, are arrested, are tried. Not only because the Palestinian people, we deserve justice, but also because we want to have a deterrence. We want this to be the last time. Let this be the last time. We don't want this to be repeated. No, never again. We want to see our children slaughtered this way, our women, our elderly, our civil structures, our schools and homes. The only way we can create deterrence is by making sure that every war criminal is pursued. So there are a lot of development that take us in the right direction right now, and we must press ahead. And I want to end by saying that while a lot of work is being done in the West, a lot of work needs to be done in the East, my brothers, especially in beloved countries with our brothers and sisters in Malaysia. And I invite you as academics, I invite you as an academics and experts and researchers to help us come up with strategy, because you are, the East is Palestine's lungs, if you may. You are our back. And it is crucial at this point in time with this equation internationally that we tap into the depth of support that we have. And we know the support we have in Malaysia, the support we have in neighboring countries. And I refer to the anti-apartheid movement, I refer to South Africa, I refer to Nelson Mandela and the ANC. And I want to remind you that South Africa would never have been freed without the support of its immediate neighbors, all of its neighbors, and the African Union and the African continent. So today we want to look east, and that's why I say to the organizers, I really wish I was with you personally to interact and to discuss and to see ways that we can work together towards stopping, and Malaysia helping us stopping this genocide, helping us rebuilding our society, our structures, particularly the education sector, because we are aware of the strength of the Malaysian universities, education sector in general, and there is a lot of needs there and expertise to be shared. And I know that Malaysia is offering many scholarships, and I know that many universities are exempting our students from fees, and we hope for more. Because the war Israel is waging against us is to deprive us of the one thing that kept us going, which is knowledge and education. We need to think with Malaysia about sanctions and imposing sanctions. We need to think and act together in the arena of accountability I just described, in the arena of the United Nations, and the need for a full membership of Palestine in the UN and full international recognition of the state of Palestine. And I just want to say that as much as it is bleak and dark and sad, we all also see the finish line, because now everybody on the face of earth realizes that you cannot bypass the Palestinian cause. You can't bypass the Palestinian people. That the Palestinian issue is not only a core issue in the region, that is the Middle East, but it's a core issue globally. 2 billion Muslims care about it. Billions of freedom-loving people worldwide care about it. It has become the dividing line between right and wrong. And I believe that more and more people are siding with what is right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Dr. Husam Zomlot, for your powerful and enlightening keynote speech and address that came out of last few days, actually. Thank you so much for this powerful speech as well. And your words have set a profound tone for this conference, reminding us of the resilience of Palestinian people and the urgent need for the collective action and pursuit of justice. We deeply appreciate your insights and leadership, which continue to inspire and guide efforts around the world. Your presence here today reinforces the importance of dialogue and understanding and unwavering commitment to the truth. On behalf of everyone here, we thank you once again for your invaluable contribution. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Do you have any questions? He's still here.
He's still there.
Yeah.
Can I just say thank you to him?
Yeah.
Dr. Husam, one second, Norma, she wants to say something for you. Yeah, you can come in.
Oh, thank
If you want, or you use this.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for speaking at our conference. My name is Norma Hashim. Thank you to Your Excellency, Husam. The reason why we decided to choose Palestinians, when we were planning the conference last year, for this conference. We had seen with disgust how the Western media had cancelled Palestinian voices. And so we decided to feature and platform Palestinian voices at our conference. 5 speakers are from Gaza and 1 more from the West Bank. In fact, you're the 6th person from Gaza to speak at our conference, so we are very honored. And indeed, as you mentioned, all the people I've met, all the Palestinians I've met so far in Malaysia, they were all students, which shows you the importance of education and how far they've come. The late Dr. Rifat Al-Arir, in fact, when I met him, he was doing his PhD here about 10 years ago, and we've become good friends and continued working together even after he returned to Gaza. So many of our closest friends here, in fact, were Palestinians who have studied here anyway. They are all extremely capable and intelligent and very good at speaking about Palestine. So this is something that I feel, because knowledge is power and information is so important to spread, especially when there's a great effort now to silence Palestinian voices. So thank you very much for speaking out as well. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Professor.